Ooh, it's a Sorento. Wow. Doesn't Sorento make you think of balmy, warm Mediterranean nights in Italy? Or if your geography's bad, in Spain. It's a lovely name, isn't it? And today we're going to look at the Kia Sorento 2007 and ask ourselves a question: should I buy a Sorento from the first edition, that's 2003 to 2009, to go off-road or go green laning? And as usual, we're going to go through 10 points, 10 characteristics or features that a car should have if it wants to go off-road. So the first one that we're going to look at on Easy 4x4 with me, Simon Trekker, is the most fundamental thing. What sort of traction does it have? Let's have a look at the system that it has in here. Again, it's exciting, isn't it? If you've never been in one of these cars, it's all very grey, isn't it? But that doesn't make any difference because it won't make you go better or worse off-road. Okay, if I can just squeeze in here. Well, in the 2007, in most of these cars, they originally came with one of these, which had auto 4x4, was like all-wheel drive, in which you don't do anything, you just drive and the car does everything for you. So you don't need to use your enormous off-road experience in intelligence at all. And what happens is when if the front two wheels lose traction, then the car sends more power to the front. They did say that very low speed that didn't work, so very often you'd be going in two-wheel drive all the time. That wasn't great. So many people have upgraded to this system, which is very much like the pre-facelift 2003 to 2006 models. Okay, some of them, not all of them, had exactly the same system, but most of them had part-time four-wheel drives. That meant two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive lock, and the low range. Okay, this one only came with that, if you remember, like 20 seconds ago, and now it's upgraded with everything on it. In fact, it's got two-wheel drive, it's got all-wheel drive, it's got the lock as well in the high range positions. So how good is this? That out of, does it get 0, half, or 1 point? I would give it half a point actually, because if you get this, the later model, then, well, you're only going to get the all-wheel drive system. If you get the earlier ones, most of them had the part-time, which included the proper lock. So, point number 2 on our list is, does it have low range? Now, were you paying attention? Because if you were, you'd know that it does. Well, let's look at the original one. The original one actually did have four-wheel drive low range, which is probably the saving grace for that particular car. I have to admit, though, that going in the all-wheel drive version, I was able to do an awful lot. I didn't get stuck, maybe going up very steep and slippery slopes, yes. But the low range was also very good. So it didn't actually lock in the all-wheel drive. So that was also, and that's where it gets half a point really. But the low range is great. Does it have low range? Yes, it does. That's 1 point. And in fact, with this DIPTECH SUPERLOCKER, and I will leave a link in the description, this simply connects into the wiring of the car. It doesn't do it any damage. It doesn't really affect anything, except it gives you all of the high range, including all-wheel drive, and the same in low range, which I don't think any car has got. So you could actually go in low range on the road at very, very low speeds if you're stuck in a traffic jam, Or you can also use it for example, moving a caravan around or towing something. So, full points for that. Well done, Sorento. Whoops. You can see I'm not I'm not editing this very much, trying to get through in one go. Next thing, point 3. Do you know what it might be? Well, it's actually height. The actual height of the car above the ground. Good, because if it's very bumpy, you might actually, well, hit something. The higher it is, the better in general. Now, anything above 20 centimeters from the factory is normally quite a good thing. So, what I would say was, I'll just adjust this a little bit. There we go, so you don't see the selfie stick all the time. This has got 20.8, so nearly 21 centimeters. It's not great for what we'd call, well, you know, one of these, sorry. It's not great for a car that really wants to be off-road. One of the limiting factors is that it actually has a solid axle, which we'll look at in just a minute. So, the other thing related to that, what is the wading height or wading depth or fording depth that it has? Well, according to what I can find on internet, the official one is actually 25 centimeters, which seems very, very, very low. Other forums say it's around about 450. Doesn't sound great. So for the height, I would give it the full point because, well, it's above the 20, the 21. Not great, but it's okay. And the fording, I'd give it half a point. It should be a bit better than that. I mean, the factory would tell you if it was going to be better than that or not. If you buy a Range Rover, they'll tell you it's, I don't know, 500 or 600, or for example, Montero or Pajero. So we go on to the next one, also related to height in a way, or the design of the car. Guess what that will be? Yeah, it's the angles. We've got the approach angle here, and that is 28.4. That's pretty good. Anything near 30 is good. The breakover, the underside of this, is 22, which is kind of average actually. You know, you want to look at a lot of cars are around about 25, like the Pathfinder, the Jimny, for example. And finally, the departure angle is 25.8. This has got quite a big butt on it, and in fact, because of that, I actually hit the bumper going down a bit of a step, which is my fault really, because of the departure angle, which is, as I say, 25, nearly 26. Again, over 30 is good. A Jimny, for example, is 49, which is, I mean, it's buttless, isn't it? This one's got a big, round, beautiful bottom. But despite all that, I'm going to give it half a point because the angles could be a little bit better. Okay, let's go next onto the chassis. Now, these days, the original traditional ladder frames are practically disappearing, except on a couple of cars like the Wrangler, for example, the Jeep Wrangler, and trying to think now, the Land Cruiser and others still have them, but the new Sorento doesn't. But this one has an original ladder frame, and as we say in every video, the good thing about it is if you actually knock the frame underneath, you're not going to damage the rest of the body of the car, which is what happens with the new monocoque frames on most of the modern vehicles. It doesn't mean that the modern vehicles are less strong. It's just that for specific knocks underneath, it can actually do damage. Anyway, going underneath now, as I'm looking at my cheat sheet here, I'd never be able to remember these 10 things all on my own. Next one is axles, solid or independent? Well, let's have a look. Obviously, if I were Tom Thumb now, it'd be a lot easier for me to get down here, although, to be honest, I don't think he'd be strong enough to hold the selfie stick. But there we go. Underneath, if you can, wow, it is actually pretty low, isn't it? You might just be able to see that there is a solid axle at the back, so the differential hanging down, which might be responsible for it not having a very good height. So I think that's the lowest point. Solid axle, 4x4 people prefer it. It is better because it lets the wheels drop down further and touch the ground. whereas the front has got independent ones. So it's kind of a 50-50 here. A lot of 4x4s have this sort of mix. Even the Pajero, or Montero as it's called in Spain, have this like solid at the back, independent at the front. 2 solid axles is the way to go for extreme off-roading, but for normal off-roading it's pretty good. So we'll give it half a point, 50% there. Next thing, wheels. Does it have any? Yes, it does. Not only does it have 4 wheels, the important thing here is to be able to fit smaller wheels, small alloys. For example, this comes with 16s, 17s or 18s. This came with 17s. I've put 16s on it with mud terrain in this case. The reason you put 16s on there is because you get a far greater range of tyres to choose from for off-road. And also if there's lots of space in the wheel arch, you can put on tyres with a greater profile so that then you can let them down or deflate them. So I would give this car the full point here because, yeah, and also it's got a full-sized tyre or wheel, sorry, underneath. Okay, there it is. A bit muddy, aren't they, when you leave them under here? They're so difficult to clean with your toothbrush because you have to lie down and then, you know, polish them and all that sort of stuff. So full point for that. Very good. Well done, Sorento. The next one. 4x4 features in general. What do I mean by that? Well, one of the things is like towing points. This has got towing points already. There's one down there. And there's another on the other side. So if you get stuck on either side, you can be pulled out. There's also one at the back. Another thing. Actually, folding mirrors are pretty good because as you're going along a small lane, you can fold them. They've got power folding. That's not on all models. One of the main things, though, is a huge boot or trunk. And this one has it. You can leave all of your gubbins and your stuff here. Here you can prepare your massacre with the chainsaw and become a hero with all these traction boards. And it also comes with a pair of green welly boots, which is pretty good. The seats fold down totally flat, which is another great thing. And I measured 1.80 meters of space. So even if you're a bit bigger than that, you know, if you tuck in your little toes and curl up, some people actually sleep in the back of these. So it's got lots and lots of space here, plus a 12-volt plug to put your extra fridge and other camping stuff if you're into that, which you might be if you're into 4x4. So I would say that this car is pretty much prepared. Inside doesn't have a lot of grab handles anywhere like a Pathfinder that seems to have them everywhere, but in general I would say that this definitely deserves the full point for 4x4 features. Number 10. Now this is the 10th point, is the one where you can actually empty your bank account, because 4x4 accessory makers and vendors have an awful lot of extras that you can buy for your off-road car. The thing is, it seems that the older or more popular the car, the more accessories are. So if you go for a Tata Grand Safari, for example, you're not going to find very many accessories. For this one, you can get quite a large range. In fact, for this you can get kits to lift it by the usual 4 centimeters, you know, with the coils and the shocks. You can get a range of different. You can get the sidebars here, or steps, or rock sliders. You can get the nudge bar at the front. There are quite a few accessories for this. However, one of the most important ones, which is the differential lock, which can make a big difference. The difference between a really extreme 4x4 and a normal one, let's say. There isn't one made by a mainstream manufacturer. For example, ARB don't make one. They might have made it years ago or something, a limited range, but there is one company though in Athens called PROTRACK that does actually make a limited, that makes the differential lock for the front and the back. I have been in contact with them. They do say they have sold a few. It's like a one-man operation, I think, down there. He's a craftsman, this guy. But I would say that the fact that you can't get a mainstream one, I'm going to take half a point away. If you look at some other cars, like some of the Jeep Grand Cherokee or the Nissan Patrol, the list of accessories you can get is endless. It really would totally bankrupt you. Luckily with this one, it just puts you into debt, really. You know, a credit card and maybe a small loan if you really want to tart it up. So in the end, we've looked at the 10 different points. So in all of these videos, we're going to give it a mark out of 10, which we'll put up at the end. I'm not going to go through it now to waste time. So if you've been counting carefully with my zeros, my halves and my ones, you've noticed that I didn't give it 0 for anything. That's pretty good. It has everything, but there were a couple of features that were missing, and in the end this gets 7.5 out of 10. Now that's not bad, is it? It looks like a typical SUV, but really it's a total off-roader disguised as an SUV. And we go to Matt from Carwow. What would he say? Well, should you go out and buy it immediately? Should you think about it? Or should you rule it out completely? Well, let's have a look at the situation here. These cars are really, God, the bloody door closer frightened me. Anyway, if you want a real off-road car that ticks practically all the boxes, one that isn't too expensive, which is also a good thing, because if you take it out on some of the roads that you're going to go out on, green lane, you're going to damage things sooner or later, aren't you? For the price, for all the features that it has, you really do have to think about it, I would say. And if you've already got a car for your day-to-day driving, and you're looking for, well, a comfortable car you can just chuck around off-road for the price, which in Spain they're about 6,000 to 7,000 for a pretty good average mileage, 150,000 kilometers. In Britain there'll probably be, I don't know, 3,000 to 4,000. Go to High Peak Auto to find out, because he's actually reviewed one of those. I'd say go out and buy one. It really is. I've actually driven this for a while now. The quality of the car is really good. Parts, yeah, you can get parts, okay, no problem with that. Kia quality, yeah. So, and there's plenty of help there on forums. And that's it. So yeah, I'd say go out, think about it at least, don't rule it out. It's definitely could be a car for you. So, well, if you enjoyed the video, as they always say, give it the old thumbs up, subscribe, turn on the bell for, well, I'm going to be reviewing a lot of 4x4s. So if you're new to the market, or, you know, if you're someone who's been in the 4x4 world for a while, but you just want a little bit of an idea of a car, this is the place to come to. Easy 4x4. So thanks a lot, everyone, and see you very soon. Okay, bye.
Oops. Yeah, good. Holy crap.